It's time to share my journey into the world of healing, intuition, and spiritual discovery. As I find my place as a healer, psychic, and medium, I'm here to share my experiences and insights in hopes of breaking down barriers between different spiritual perspectives. Whether you're curious about energy work, looking to deepen your understanding, or just exploring your own path, this podcast offers stories, teachings, and connections to help you navigate the space between worlds. I'm Heather, and this is Soulful Wonderings. Are you coming along for the ride? Oh my goodness, it has been a hot minute, huh? No, I haven't been around for a while. Oh my goodness, so much has happened. There's so much to say. And for anyone who's followed me on my journey so far, I think it's been fairly evident that it's been probably a little bit all over the place. Maybe a good way to say it, but so have I. Because let's be honest, y'all, spiritual journeys and awakenings, they just aren't for the faint of heart. I think there are people on the outside who see these, woo people and, they think that they're sort of out there. There's these kind of, I don't know, floaty, that's probably not the right word, but to me, that's what I feel like. They just sort of float around and they're really easygoing and everything's great and wonderful. But awakening and finding out who you are is arguably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And what's even harder is finding out who you are and then living like that person and doing it unapologetically. Wow, I can't even say that word. Unapologetically is how you want to live. And I don't mean living that way just sometimes, okay? And with just some people, maybe the people you feel like you can trust or the people that will understand you. I mean all the time. And I'm going to be honest, I spend way too much of my time having this little war in my head. How many of you guys do that? It's about what I should say at any given time. How much should I give away? How much should I really say? How should I say it? Okay, now granted, part of that is my ADD brain, but still, the struggle is real and it's pretty constant. And the truth is, it was a war really even before I started all this spiritual thing, the spiritual journey, because I was just weird. Let's just face it, okay? And I had weird things happen to me. And at the time, I had no clue why. At least now I know, I know that what's going on may be metaphysical, but then I still have to figure out if it is indeed metaphysical and in what way, and then how I'm going to deal with it. So it's all the time. It really is. And maybe you're thinking, I've definitely thought it at times, it's way easier to just go through life oblivious. Let me just blame other people and other things for all my issues, or maybe myself at times, of course, something I just screwed that up. That's why it's wrong. Happy victim, right? Okay. Not happy, but that's kind of the rub, isn't it? Knowing that there's something, but you can't put your finger on it. And as much of as a clusterfuck as my life can be at times, I will choose knowing what I know, knowing there's a lot I don't know. I will choose that every time, every single time. Again, for those of you that have been keeping up with my journey, it took a big turn after I had COVID. And the COVID itself wasn't that bad. It was the long COVID after that's been, let's just say not fun. It's actually changed the way I live in a lot of ways. I just have to sort of look at my life a little differently and how I do things and how I go about things, primarily for exhaustion, because that's been a big part of what all this is. And it kind of seems to be my new normal now. So we work around. We make it work, but it's definitely something that I have to be aware of. But it's also what introduced me to Theta healing, which I know a lot of people don't know what theta healing is, which is one of the things we're going to talk about a lot. So a quick recap, I was having what they called seizure-like episodes. I even had one in the middle of a test they were running on me, and it still showed nothing. Okay, nothing showed up on the test. Had a quote-unquote seizure on the table. So no one knew what was wrong with me. I had a neurologist that was actually listening. Okay, he was really going, okay, I know there's something wrong, but we can't figure it out. He was racking his brain trying to come up with a solution, and I was just getting weaker every day. I kind of resolved myself to, I was probably just slowly dying, and I was starting to make decisions on how to adjust my life. How was I going to continue to work? I didn't know that I could. Maybe what could I do to bring money in? What could I do to prep my family for what was inevitably coming? So enter a friend of mine who suggested that I try theta healing, which I never heard of, had no clue about, did not know what it was in the slightest. She said, well, it's a type of energy healing. Okay. I was desperate. So I was like, sign me up. Turns out what was going on with me was metaphysical, which back to that war that goes on in my head, it's very difficult sometimes to explain to people that are not in this world, to explain to them what it means and what has happened and what I believe is happening. And I'm going to tell you, in my former life, kind of before this whole journey, I wouldn't have believed it either. But now it was very much like, sure, why not? Of course, it's something freaky. Why wouldn't it be? The thing is, though, it's actually not freaky. It's really not. It may feel that way. Like I said, if you're not familiar with some of these things, maybe you don't want to be familiar with some of these things. Maybe you chalk all this up to woo. Everything is woo. But a lot of these things, a lot of this, it's really much more normal than we think. It's here. It's around us every day. Most people just ignore it. And I think it's because as I was saying, the woo, the quote unquote woo, it scares them. They think, I can't be part of that. They think they can't believe in that. That it's not real, for one thing, which it is. And then there's the whole it's demonic thing, which we'll talk about that at other times. And I believe that it is not. So I believe that it's truly part of my purpose to be here is to help people kind of understand both sides, where hopefully they don't get freaked out, where we can explain it in a way where, you know what, you can choose to believe it if you want. That's your choice. You can believe it. Maybe you learn more about it. Maybe you just choose to understand it. Maybe you choose to get involved. Maybe you choose to not be involved at all, but you go, okay, I understand it. It's something that that you have a curiosity about, that you learn more about. Or you can just choose to, you know what, this is not my bag, and I'm going to walk away. And that's your choice as well. But at least when you do that, you can do it with knowledge, real knowledge, not what someone has fed you to kind of try and make you believe something. So the super fun part of this past, I'm going to say year, is that I'm getting pushed a little harder all the time to sort of come out. And what I mean by that is we hear a lot of people say, you're coming out of the broom closet. You know, they'll say that a lot for spiritual folks, that that you're just being you all the time and you're talking more openly about some of these things. But do you know how hard that is to do when you live and work in corporate America? Hell, it's hard when you're not talking about spiritual things. Maybe you're just a little different than everybody else. Maybe you're one of the quirky people at your office. It's hard when it's just that. So, where's the balance? How can I be me and still be accepted and not judged? That's the $1,005,000 question, right? And again, that's often the case without bringing spirituality into the mix. I mean, I've always been a creative. You know, that's something I've always done. And I can't tell you how many times in my life that's something I've done or something I've said or whatever. it's been chalked up to, oh, well, she's one of those artsy people. Really? Why can't I just be me and just be creative? I digress. We're going to get to that more in a second. So here we are. We're starting over again. This time, hopefully being a little more open, not hiding behind those corporate identities that are, more readily accepted, but rather seeing all of me. The other day, I was on a call with some amazing friends. They're in my Wonder Women group. I've mentioned them before. I'm sure I'll mention them again. And we were talking about 2025. And one of the conversations, or part of the conversation, was what word had we chosen for the year? A lot of people do that. What's my word this year? It's a word that you kind of, you're reminded of it throughout the year. It's maybe tied to a goal or a dream, but it's something you're sort of striving to incorporate into your life in the next year. So a lot of people would choose a word. And of course, me being me, I can't choose one word. I chose 3. So my words are intention, present, and believe. And those are really big for me. And I kind of needed all 3 of them, I think, because I feel like all too often I'm just doing things, right? I'm checking things off the list, and I'm doing the ones often that are the easy ones, that are the ones that come easy to me, that I know how to do. Oh, I could knock that off really quickly. In my head, I'm thinking, let me just knock that out and then I'll move on to this next thing. But the question is, are they really moving the needle? Did they really move me forward? Or were they just easy? And again, they're those easy wins. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Or was I doing the easy things and still avoiding those that maybe were a little more uncomfortable? So this year, I'm bringing in intention, that I want to do things with intention, not just to do them and check a box. My next word was present, which kind of goes with intention a little bit. But I'm forever just worried about something I did in the past, and I'm letting it affect me. I'm fretting over, oh, I shouldn't have said that, or I shouldn't have done that, or I should have done this, or, oh, I didn't get that done. Just all the things. And then if I'm not doing that, then I'm worried about all I have to do in the future. The check boxes. Yeah. I'm looking at those going, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. Maybe I could multitask. Maybe while we're doing this, I could just pull out my computer and just work on this thing. I'm just trying to get to that next step. And again, not always steps that are intentional. And then I'm not fully focused on the step that I'm on. When you're on a ladder, or actual steps of some kind that are moving you forward in something. I'm talking about actual physical steps. That kind of lack of focus can actually be dangerous. If you're not paying attention to what you're doing while you're climbing on a ladder, and you're not paying attention to the rung that you're on, you could easily slip, you could easily fall, right? I believe it's same as when Creator, or God, is telling you to do something and you're ignoring it. So what I've really realized is that I really do need to be present. Sometimes that's to learn a lesson. Sometimes it's just as simple as soaking up memories with my family, because these times I won't get them back, right? So whatever it is, I need to be there and I need to be present. And my third word is believe. Because, okay, to me there's faith, which I have. I have faith all the time. I've always had faith. And then there's truly believing it can happen. And I know that may sound odd, but to me it makes perfect sense that I have to move beyond faith, beyond that blind faith of, oh yeah, it's going to happen. Yeah, sure. But do you really believe it? You think, oh, well, I'll know when I see it, or something like that. So to me, faith is a little different. It's a little more blind, kind of, oh yeah, oh, that must have been it. That must have been that answer. No, I really need to believe that that's truly going to happen. The thing I'm asking for, the thing I'm trying to manifest, the thing that I'm trying to bring into my life, the thing I'm trying to learn how to do. I believe I can do it. So moving beyond faith. if that makes sense. So while we were on this call, one of the questions that was posed was, and this was posed to each one of us, was what did we hope to accomplish this year? So basically, when I get to the end of 2025, what do I hope when I look back that I can say that I've accomplished, or where do I want to be at that point? And it just hit me in that moment. And I don't think I'd really thought about it up until then. I want to be me. I want to be all me. I want to understand my ADD. I want to understand that I work a little differently than other people. I want to understand how it is that I work. What is my best way to be productive? What time of day? What environments? All of those things. I want to know those things. And then I want to accept those, and I want to adjust what I do and work that way so that I can be more productive. But I also don't want to have to apologize for that. I don't want to have to say, look, I need this accommodation, or I need whatever. I want to make it work within my life to be productive and do what I need to do and be me. And through being me, show, yeah, this works. This is why I'm doing it this way. And other people go, okay, and accept that. Not just me accepting it, but other people accepting it. Another thing that really hit me that night, and I've actually been wrestling with this one for a while. I have all these labels. When I'm in the spiritual world, I'm a psychic, I'm a healer, I'm a medium. In my corporate life, I'm a marketing professional. I'm a photographer. I'm a writer. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm a Pisces. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation, right? But can I not just be me? I've been so wrapped up in all these identities and titles all my life, and I've really identified with those. I'm a marketing professional, and that's what I sort of attached to, and I felt like I had to be that all the time. But what if I'm just me? And maybe that's part of the problem, is that I don't really know who me is. So I feel like I spend time fighting my life. Y'all, I saw a movie the other day where the girl in it was just tired. And that's one of the things she said. She said, I'm tired of fighting my life. She basically wasn't seeing the success she wanted in her quote unquote dream profession. So she was looking at her life differently and, discovering that maybe that really wasn't her dream. Maybe it was something that she enjoyed, but maybe that wasn't her ultimate, calling. I feel like we can have more than one dream. We can have more than one thing we enjoy, more than one thing we enjoy doing. And the truth is, we could pick probably any of those and make them a profession and be happy and be fulfilling a purpose. And it's not that you're kind of giving one of them up. I think that's where we get caught up a lot of times. Am I giving up this dream? No, maybe you're not giving it up. Maybe you're just allowing yourself to align to something better. So all of this to say that all of these things, a lot of these conversations, a lot of these things that have happened brought me to this place of sort of trying again. But I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure that's really accurate either, right? Life is an onion, is it not? There are layers. There's layers to everything. There's layers to happiness. There's layers to sadness. There's layers to traumas. There's layers to just about everything we do, to just about every aspect of our life. We are not simple beings, and our lives are complex. And like I said, that really goes to really every aspect of our lives. So I say I'm trying again. And while that's accurate, because I am going to say that nothing I did before was wrong, it was just a different layer. It was a different layer of healing. And that healing had to happen. It was a different awakening, or a different part of my awakening. So that's why when I decided to do this year, and I said it was a new journey, I did that instead of something like a new year, new me. How often do you hear that? Especially at the beginning of the year, or you're starting this new thing, and like it can be a new you. I'm not a new me. I'm not. I'm just me. I just get me more now. I understand me more now. And I'm on a new leg of this journey because the journey never stops. It may twist, it may turn, got a little curve here, got a little, hard right there. But we never stop learning or growing, at least while we're on this plane. I mean, if we did, if we knew it all, had no more growth to experience, we knew we're done, we've found it all out, we know all the answers, then why would we need to be here? And in case I haven't shared this before, I get told all the time to tell my story. All the time. All the time. Multiple ways. All the ways. All the times. So I decided it was time. Well, Creator was also letting me know that I needed to get aligned too. But I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. So I decided to start a new journey, and that journey would be telling my story, and I've been sharing it on social media and on my email list, which you can join if you want. I'm going to put all that in the show notes. We're soulfulwanderings.com. It's the best place to start. And then, of course, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. Like I said, I'm going to put that in the show notes so you can find it. So I'm inviting people to come with me as I kind of regroup and find more of myself. So when we started with the month of January, that was all about starting with a clean canvas so that we can paint this picture of our lives that we want to paint. On all these ideas that I've had are coming with activities to kind of work through the things. I feel like that really helps when you have a way to make it more tangible when you're going through something. So I started the first week with releasing. I felt like the beginning of the year, this is what we do. I was writing letters. It can be to yourself. Mine were. I've written ones in the past that were to people in my life that I felt like were holding me back. And in the letters, we just kind of said it all, the good, the bad, the ugly. Just let it all out. Say whatever you got to say. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be eloquent. Just say it. And then for me, I went outside and basically I told the universe, I need to release these things back to you. I thanked God and the universe for taking them from me and turning them into positive energy that can be used for something positive. And then I burned it, light it. Oh my gosh, such a great feeling. And as you watch those flames rise up and just kind of watch those ashes, it truly is a beautiful releasing feeling. And then second week, we talked about finding our roots and being present. So for me, that was a lot of just getting grounded and really getting myself centered and aligned. And for me, again, that is just getting quiet, quieting all the thoughts and the noise that just seems to always be in my head, and listening to God, Creator, however you prefer to refer to Him. He's kind of in my ear all the time anyway. I bet it's like that for you guys too. You know that inner voice, right? You know who that is, right? That's your conscience. That's probably whatever higher power you believe in. So I found that things like grounding, that's what helped me also feel safe and at peace. And when I was paying attention to that inner voice and really listening to my intuition and following that intuition, that's when I really feel peaceful and present, because I know I'm really listening and I'm really in tune. Third week of January is all about designing our future. So that's when I'm looking at my future going, what do I want it to look like? What's my perfect life? And I mean every little detail. Okay, what do I wear? What kind of clothes do I wear? Who do I spend my time with? What do I spend my time doing? Where do I live? What does my house look like? What do I eat? Where do I work? Every little detail is important because your mindset matters. What we dwell on tends to be what happens. So if we sit in the negative, if we say all the time, I need money, the universe hears that and they think, okay, they want to need, right? That's what they're hearing. You see what I'm saying? I need money. Oh, they need money. They need all the time. No. But if we start to imagine this life and what we start to focus on that life, we start to focus on that positive, and you almost go ahead and put yourself in that place of, I already live like this. I already believe this. I'm already living my life in this way. Then that's what you start to create. And one of the activities for week 3 is about creating a piece of art that represents that life. Maybe it's a collage, maybe it's a painting or drawing. It can be anything you want it to be. Mine's a bit of a collage, I think, kind of representing a lot of the pieces in my life that I would like to see. Week 4 is all about planting seeds, right? So that's about moving the needle. That's where you're looking at your life and, okay, you've done this cleaning out. You've said, okay, this is what I want my life to look like. Now you start to set the goals and the dreams for that year. And then you go, okay, now how am I going to get there? Right? So that becomes, what actions am I going to take to get there? They can be small, they can be big. Now, one thing to remember, if you're setting big goals, big things that you want to happen, it's easy to get overwhelmed. So you have to often break those down into smaller bite-sized pieces. What do they say? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time? It's overwhelming to think about some of the really big things, but if you break it down into little pieces, it's a lot simpler. So what I'm looking at is, what are 3 things I can do in the month of February or next month that would move the needle for me? So what's a daily action I can take that maybe changes my habit? And look, y'all, we all do that, right? Again, what they say, garbage in, garbage out. What are the choices that we're making every day? Are we choosing to waste away in front of social media? Or are we making other choices? Because we can't change by doing the same thing over and over. If you're doing the same thing, then how do you expect it to change? And look, I'm not saying that social media can't be fun or that you have to just, stop all the things, that you feel like, oh, I shouldn't be doing that. It's a great way to see your friends and things like that. So I'm not saying just turn off social media, but what if you are wanting to move something else in your life forward and you have a finite amount of time in a day, right, before you got to go to sleep? Start over again. So you got to change something, right? So let's say you had something just as simple as you want to read more. Let's say your goal for February is you want to read 2 books or just 1 book, but you feel like you don't have a lot of time for that. Well, maybe what you do is you start looking at your life and you go, what do I do all day? Where do I spend my time? Maybe one of the places you spend your time is on social media. Maybe you find that you're scrolling your phone a lot. I know I do. I'm so, oh my gosh, y'all, I do that all the time. So maybe what you do is you say, okay, I'm going to set a timer and I'm going to allow myself 20 minutes a day. When I get home from work, instead of sitting and before I know it, it's been an hour that I've been scrolling social media, set a timer, because if you don't, you're gonna just sit and not notice what you're doing, just like you did before. Set a timer for 20 minutes. All right. Do social media for 20 minutes. Then the rest of that time, read. Pick up your book that you wanted to read and read. So look how much time you just gained if you just, by that one example. Or maybe you've cut your social media a little bit short. So now you start all your other activities of the evening a little bit early. You move up dinner time, you move up workout time, whatever. So now that extra time has been created when you get ready to go to bed. Maybe now you've created enough time to go to bed a little early, and maybe you read before you go to bed. Or maybe you're kind of doing it the other way and you're going to wake up in the morning and read for 30 minutes before you go to work. My point is, do you see how making those choices and changing a habit can literally move the needle? It can literally change the results of what's happening. And you'd be surprised how fast that can happen. So I think one of the biggest takeaways from that is we have to focus on where we want to be. And back to being told that, when I said earlier I was gonna elaborate. one day, I'm not going to get into the whole story of how it happened, but I did something. I kind of tripped over something, and I sort of twisted my hip, and I felt it. Like I felt the something move in that joint, and I thought, oh, that's not good. And it was totally legitimate way of doing it. Okay, I just, like I said, I tripped over something. It was an accident. It was fine, and I thought, give it a couple days, it'll be better, but it didn't. It wasn't getting better. It'd been a couple weeks, and it was actually starting to become a bit of a problem. It was affecting my ability to exercise. I was having to modify that. I found myself, you step to the side and it was just, I was struggling to bear weight on it and things like that. So it was really, it was starting to become, I was getting a little worried. Okay. Like I said, it's been a couple weeks, and not only had it not gotten better, but it really had probably gotten a little bit worse. And we have to be honest. I'm at an age, a certain age, that I had to actually be worried about, could I have fractured it? And oh gosh, I hate that I even have to think about that. But it is true that there does come a point where there are just different concerns that you have to have with your body physically. And that was brought up to me by more than one person, that they're like, look, I'm not trying to call you out or anything, but you are a little bit older. And the truth is that can happen very easily the older you get. So I thought, oh my gosh, here we go. Gotta go to the doctor. I didn't want to go to the doctor. So I reached out to, I call her my Theta healing mentor. She's the one that taught me. Her name is Gina. And I said, I'm right that if I scan my body using the Theta technique, I'd be able to tell if it was a fracture, right? I'd be able to know, okay, look, I see a fracture. Let's make sure we go to the doctor. Not that I'm saying don't go get medical care if you need it. Okay. That is not what I'm saying about Theta healing or any kind of energy healing. Okay. Hear me on that. But I just kind of, I don't know. I just wanted to know, like, do I really need to go to the doctor, or is there something I can do? Because I hate going to the doctor. Anyway. And so she's all, I'll do it. I'll scan. And immediately she goes, whoa. And of course I'm like, don't do that. Don't go, whoa. This is not what I want to hear. 15 seconds into the scan is, oh, whoa. Anyway. So evidently, again, with Theta healing, we work with Creator or God, however you prefer to refer. For me, as Creator. And she said, Creator immediately told her to tell me that I needed to stop what I was doing. That basically I had gotten so far off of alignment that she could actually see when I would try to ground and things like that, that it was just literally just kind of sliding off my body, that I was just so far off alignment that everything was just off and just wrong. And that if I didn't stop what I was doing, that this was likely going to get worse. This was a little bit of a warning, and what's really bad is I knew all of this. Okay. I had gotten some downloads. I had gotten some things, in the few times I would actually have time to meditate and whatnot. I knew all of this. I knew that what I was doing really wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. I knew that it really wasn't my path, but I kept saying, look, I know, just let me finish this. Okay. And then I'm going to go back to it. Just let me finish. I'm just going to do this one thing. Okay. I'm going to do these two things. Okay. Really these three things. Okay. And then I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back. The problem was I wasn't going back. I wasn't. And I knew this, and I knew that I was off the path I was supposed to be on. I knew the things I was doing were not part of my purpose. They were things that I was grasping for. They were things that I was trying to control, that I didn't need to be controlling, that I needed to be trusting, that I needed to be following the purpose that I knew I was supposed to follow. So as soon as she said it, I just went, oh, I know. And she's like, what do you mean, So I said, yeah. I actually knew all of this. I've just been ignoring it. She goes, well, I wouldn't anymore. So we went through the Theta process and the things that we do through a Theta session. And I'm going to talk about some of this in the future. Again, not important for the moment. But I knew, and I was like, thank you very much. I appreciate the help. And then I immediately sort of dropped into a prayer with Creator, and I said, I know, I'm sorry. I get it. I'm done. And I surrender. Basically, I surrender to control. You know, I know that I'm trying to control things that if I would just do what I'm supposed to do, I wouldn't have to control. So I was like, I get it. And I surrender to that. And I'm ready to move forward in the path that I know is the right path. And my hip basically stopped hurting immediately. This was in the evening that we did this. The next day, I had absolutely no issues. It was back to normal, so to say. I had no issues after that. All the pain was gone. So, and look, we've all done it, right? We've gotten those little nudges. I mean, come on. We've got gods in our head all the time, or we've been in prayer and we have just simply ignored it. And how often does that lead to things going completely awry? Yep, y'all, I'm telling you, alignment, alignment and listening. Okay, not just alignment and listening, then obeying. Doing the things that you know you're supposed to do, even when they're scary and uncomfortable. It's important. So here we are. Listening, following, and sharing, no matter how scary it is. So if you would like to join me on this journey in some way, I'm going to share my parts of the journey that I'm on. If you would like to participate, you know, kind of doing your own thing in that journey, following along some of the exercises and things like that, feel free to do that. And it's never too late to start. If at any point you come across this podcast or one of my pages or something, you could start at that point and move forward. I'm putting this information primarily on Facebook and Instagram pages right now, but we are also populating our website with this information. And of course, lots of other spiritual things as well. So go check us out often, actually. Oh, you can also sign up. We have an email list that we've gotten started so that we can send this information directly to you as we're putting it out there. So again, I'm going to put all those handles and websites and whatnot. We'll put all that in the show notes. So we're getting this thing started. Look, it's not always going to be perfect, but it's a growth process, right? And I'm really excited for where we're headed. I hope you are too, and I hope you'll join us. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and that it has helped you move forward in your journey in some way. Make sure and like and rate and subscribe and, do all those things for our podcast because it really helps us out. Links and other important things you need to know will be in the show notes. And if you have ideas of topics you'd like to hear about or questions you want us to answer, you can drop those on the Soulful Wanderings page on either Facebook or Instagram, or you can drop us an email. Again, check the show notes for all that. If you're interested in theta healing or reading or just more spiritual topics, head over to our website, soulfulwanderings.com. In the meantime, take care of yourself and each other. Until next time.